Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing fine. Today we are going to start with the fresh topic, Chapter 2, Grade 6 CBSE, from hunting, gathering to growing food. So the topics that we intend to cover in today's session: the earliest people, why were they on the move? How do we know about these people? And choosing a place to live. And we'll see how much do you learn from these topics. So without any further ado, let's get started. Yes, we're going to talk about the history. So I'm going to start with Tushar's journey. There was this boy who was traveling through train all the way from Delhi to Chennai. And as he managed to get a seat very near to the window, he started to observe the trees, the mountains outside. All of a sudden, his uncle, sitting very next to him, called him, tapped him on his shoulder and told him, "My dear Tushar, do you know that the train that you're traveling on did not exist before 150 years or 150 years ago?" And Tushar was quite surprised to know. He wanted to know more things about the past. How people traveled from one place to the other. Or did they spend their entire life living at one place? So, we'll try to answer all these questions with the first topic that we are going to start off: the earliest people. Why were they on the move? We all know, as we've talked about Tushar's story, that back then we didn't have trains. And it's only after the trains that came into existence we happened to see the movement done by the buses around 10 years later. So it's very important that how did societies exist, how did people exist around 2 million years ago? Well, in order to describe them, I'll tell you, we'll call them from now onwards, we'll call them hunter-gatherers. As you can see, this person is trying to survive and is trying to make his way into the wild by attacking or by fighting against this wild creature. So these hunter-gatherers, they got their name because how they used to get their food. They primarily depended on wild food. They depended on wild food way before agriculture came into existence. So generally they used to hunt the wild animals. They used to get hold of the fish. They used to eat the fruits that they gathered, seeds, eggs, or even the stalks. As you can see, there is some part of the plant that you can consume. So at times they even used to consume what you call it the stalk, S-T-A-L-K. It's basically the stem. So why was the need when they were hunter-gatherers, they could get food from anywhere? So what was the need for them to travel from one place to another? We'll look into the reasons as to why they gathered. Number one is there was limited availability of plant and animal resources. So the first point is limited availability of animal and plant resource. As you know, if you start to consume the available plant and animal resource in a particular area, that might get depleted. So definitely you'll have to relocate yourself, move to another place to look for other options. Second, as we know that these hunter-gatherers usually used to depend on animals, but the animals, in order to search their prey, they used to move from one place to another. So definitely in order to chase the animal, in order to follow the animal so that they can get their food, they had to follow the path that animals led. So the second cause was hunting. Because the animals moved from one place to another in search of their prey. So definitely in search of their prey, in search of more grass. So these people followed. The third reason is, as we all know, that there are different seasons in which the crops ripe. So at one place, if they can't have that crop, definitely they'll be having more trees, more plants blooming at the other end. So because of this seasonality of crops, of plants, of different kinds of plants, people had to move from one place to the other. And the fourth, it is water. As you very well know, may it be people, may it be plants, may it be animals, every particular being needs water to survive. And in India also, if you know, some rivers, they are perennial, which means they have water throughout the year. And some are non-perennial. So in order to make their existence possible, on the banks of the river, they had to relocate themselves during the dry season. All right. So we've covered 4 reasons to this point. The first point, that why people had to travel 2 million years ago. What was the need when there wasn't train, there wasn't means of communicate, how they used to commute, no means of transportation, but still they had an urge to go from one place to other. Right? They were on the move. The first point, as you know, we talked about availability of plant and animal resources that got depleted over the time. Second, they had to chase the animals because animals were always on the hunt to look after or to look at their prey. Third, different seasons, different crops have the seasonality of crops. And the fourth one is that people need water for their existence. So definitely, if they continue to live in the banks of the river that gets dried over the due course of time, which is not perennial, so they definitely would have to relocate themselves during the dry season. All right? Okay. So let's proceed and move on to the next question, that is, how do we know about these people? Well, is it really possible to study to know about these people? How they manage their food? What evidence do we have? Well, yes. We've got enough information about these people who lived way, way back. I'll tell you how we've got information about them. There are few people who study objects of the past, and we've read about them in the first chapter. They're known as archaeologists. So these archaeologists who were on the hunt, who were on the run to look after, to get information about these people, they found some very old stones, some very old pieces of wood, some very old bones. These might be the tools that these hunter-gatherers might have used to fight the wild animals. So some of these tools, as you guys can see, like these old tools, they were either used to cut the bones, the meat, or maybe to take away the bark from the trees, or maybe to chop the fruits, roots. So because of the availability of resources back then, they had to come up with new ideas with the available stuff. So we've often observed, and we often find this, that they used to make this bone or wood attachment to make an arrow or a spear, which is like this stone, and here you've got a wood. To make a spear, to make an arrow for hunting. And also to do other stuff. For example, they might be using it to chop the wood so that they can use the wood as a place, as firewood. So definitely these old tools were of utmost importance to them, of huge importance to them. All right? Okay. Now I move on to the map, and before I move on to the map, I'll talk about something very important which kids find it very difficult to learn. We'll focus on choosing a place to live in. Well, India offered huge place where people could live. And we've got 3 ages here. If you see, this is Paleolithic, this is Neolithic, and this is Megalithic. Now these ages, you can very well remember them and learn them in a very easy manner. I'll talk about all these in a very easy way so that you don't forget. The first, I'm going to focus on paleo. And lith anyway means, lithos means stone. So the first stage is paleo, second is Mesolithic, and the third one is Neolithic. Lithic or lithos, you know. But how do you remember all this? Because we all started with Paleolithic about 2 million years ago. Then we came to Mesolithic. And about 10,000 years ago, we've got this age that's called Neolithic. How do we learn it? It's very difficult. It's very consuming, time consuming. So what you can do is, P means pehla. In Hindi, we say pehla, sabse pehla, first. So remember P, that's pehla, that's Paleolithic. Then Meso is the middle one. Okay? So M is, this is pehla, this is first. M is the middle one and N is the new one. So this is the middle one and this is the new one. I hope you won't forget this ever. So these are the ages, different time periods. These come from a Greek word. They have Greek origin. And this is how the time span of human history has been divided, has been split into sections. Now, isn't it very easy for you to learn all about this Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic in an order? All right. So now let's have a look at this map where archaeologists found many places. So all these places that you look here, like this, Bhimbhetka, the triangular places, they denote the Paleolithic sites. The archaeologists have found these sites to be the place where hunter-gatherers live. I'll guide you through this Bhimbhetka. It is there in Madhya Pradesh. This site is there in Madhya Pradesh. Then you have Kurnool caves. As you look at this place, you'll find a lot of places they are located very, very near to the water body. These Kurnool caves, again, they are in Andhra Pradesh. This was in Madhya Pradesh. This is in Andhra Pradesh. So we have to learn the map, which is very, very, very important. Again, I'll give you another Paleolithic site, that is Hungsi. It is somewhere located in the South India. So these sites are very, very important for you guys to remember. And you can probably, it's okay if you remember the states as well. That will be helpful. But I'm just giving you a quick recap so that you do not forget these places. These are Paleolithic sites where we find the evidence of hunter-gatherers. They lived at a number of places, but this is where we find them. We found a number of stone tools that they've used. And they're of very fine quality. All right, guys. So I think that's all for the session. If you like the session, please hit the subscribe button. I'll see you soon. Thank you.